Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. So today, let's put the date on. It's the 16th of March, 2021. And I'm going to be channeling Micheal Hutchence today of INXS, a very requested person and one that I'm really happy this morning to sit down and be with. The energy's been building for a few days. And actually, it's been quite interesting because the energy has been changing day to day as well with Micheal. Apologies, I've got some incense going here. Let's put it over there, it's a bit strong. So let's get into it and talk about Micheal, shall we? So I've got this beautiful photograph over here, which I particularly love, that you can look at whilst I'm talking to him, and we can connect into his energy. So Micheal Hutchence, those of you that don't know, was the lead singer of the Australian band INXS. He was born, let me just look at my notes, he was born on the 22nd of January 1960, and he died on the 22nd of November 1997. Now, whenever I see, and there is another member of the Heart Squad that I channel, who was born on the same day and died on the same day. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. Maybe you can tell me in the comments below. But I always see that as very symbolic of a life that definitely went full circle and started and finished at the exact time that it was meant to. Now, of course, you can say that about everybody, really, because I believe we all die when we're meant to. But I think when there is a death, as in Micheal's case, which is suspicious, controversial, mysterious, I think it's even more important just to note, born on the 22nd, died on the 22nd, and actually that this was a life that had, I'm actually hearing the words exhausted itself, okay? So he came, he did what he was meant to do, and then he exited the world stage. So we will talk a little bit about his death, but I don't want it just to be about his death, this video. And actually, there's a part of him, it's not that he doesn't mind talking about it, but there's so much more to him, as there is anybody, than just talking about how they died. But we will start with it because it is a question that needs answering. And I have to say, and I'm always honest with you, that having been a channeler for many years now and having done quite a large body of work, you can look at a playlist on my channel which is called Heart Squad, where I've channeled a number of people: Michael Jackson, Princess Diana, Elvis Presley, George Harrison, Kurt Cobain, Karen Carpenter, John Lennon, JFK, Aretha Franklin. There's a whole load of people that I've channeled. And whenever there's been a death which is unexplained, I've usually been able to get quite a clear answer from them or from the cards, or a combination of both. And I've known before the video began what that answer was because they've told me, or I've tuned in myself. And over the last 24 hours, I think I've actually got more and more confused as to what on earth happened to Micheal in those final hours. And you might just say, well, why don't you just ask him? And what you have to understand is that souls are very much like human beings, which is that if you met a human, today, and you ask them sometimes the most difficult things that they find hard to understand themselves about how they maybe got themselves into a situation or why something occurred, there will sometimes be a reticence in terms of saying all of it in one go. You don't go up to somebody and just ask them the most intimate things the first time you've ever met them. And for me and Micheal, this is very much a first meeting. So we'll see what he's willing to share. But certainly, I keep being shown the song. It doesn't have the answer in it, but there was a song that he sang called Mystery, wasn't it? Mystery. What was the song? All you INXS fans know anyway. Let me just pull it up. I'm stumbling before I've even begun. INXS mystery. Mystify, that's it, mystify. Mystify is what I keep being shown, because it is a mystifying case, and he was an enigma. He was absolutely an enigma. And there's almost a part of him that, it's a really strange thing to say, he quite still enjoys being an enigma in spirit. It's as though there are certain cards that he played in life that he's still keeping quite close to his chest for whatever reason. I actually feel as though some of the reason might also be to protect people that are still alive here on earth. I do feel that. Or people that are related to people that have passed over. It's all a bit, anyway. So let's just get to it. Let's just do this, and then we can get into the wider teaching that he wants to bring through. We're going to be talking about sexuality, definitely. We're also going to be talking about divine feminine and divine masculine energies. We're going to be talking about his head injury that he sustained. We're going to be talking a little bit about love. We're going to be talking about drugs and whatever else he wants to bring through. Let me just say that let's just get this death thing over with, okay? It's interesting I say it like that, because that's almost like I feel was in his energy around the time of his death, to just get this death over with, almost as though there was an inevitability about it. However it was going to occur, whether by his own hand or somebody else's, or a combination of the two. It was as though there was an inevitable death here, and an early death. So this thing about just getting the death over with, it's almost as though I feel he wants to say that he was living. It was like he was a walking wounded. He was walking wounded, is what he's saying. He felt like death half of the time. And this obviously does link into the brain injury that he had sustained from a violent attack. I think it was a few years before he died. He also lost his sense of taste. He lost his sense of smell. It gave him mood swings. He was on a number of prescription drugs to try and cope with the changes to his physicality and his body and his whole consciousness. So I'm hearing that he felt like the Walking Dead a lot of the time. He felt a bit like a zombie in the latter years, as though he was just having to go through the motions. So there was this inevitability about the death moment. So that's the first thing that he's saying. Okay, he's talking when I say the latter years, I'm feeling as though it's particularly the last 2 years of his life where things started to escalate out of control, and he's saying his behaviour escalated out of control in terms of being able to control his behaviour, okay? Not necessarily in terms of things that he was doing to himself, although he says he certainly wasn't a saint. He's talking about drugs and excess in other areas of life. But in terms of being able to keep equilibrium and a balanced ship, he found it very hard day to day to do that as a result of the injury. And he was attacked. I do know he was attacked and fell. I think he fell, didn't he? And hit his head, which resulted in these injuries that he had to cope with for the latter couple of years of his life. It's interesting with Micheal because it almost feels as though we're talking about distinct chapters of his life. We're talking about pre the brain injury and after the brain injury. We're talking about pre-INXS and after INXS. We're talking about pre-fame and post-fame. I mean, he was always famous, but his star had started to wane a little, not in terms of his true fans, but he's saying the public can be fickle and they move on to the next big thing, the next band. He's showing me and I do know this, but he's showing me the incident where I think he had to present an award to Oasis, and I don't know if it was Liam or Noel Gallagher mocked him basically on stage for being a bit of a has-been, and he says that really hurt. So he's saying the public is fickle, they always move on to something else. So it's like having fame and then losing fame. That's how he felt. He felt as though he was losing his stardust, is what he's saying. Now that is just a perception. It doesn't mean it's actually the truth, but it's how he was feeling. And then I'm also being told pre-Paula and post-Paula, okay? Paula Yates, I will just say at this point, in case I forget to mention it later, I'm finding it very, very hard to connect to her. I am not seeing her around him at all. And I've been scratching my head about that and thinking, well, why can I not see Paula Yates around him? Because, you know, that was the big love, certainly, you know, towards the end of his life. But I'm not seeing her. So I can't sit here and make things up. I'm not feeling her presence around him. I sort of get the impression from what he's hinted at, he's saying obsession. It's almost like there was an obsessive energy, very linked into past life. There was some karma as well involved in it, very karmic, very much a past life connection, which was why there was this big pull, which they both felt towards each other. But he was saying it became a raging fire, which turned into an inferno and burnt them both out. And it's almost as though whatever happened between the two of them was meant to happen, had to happen. Again, this inevitability. It's almost like this fated, it's like a fated energy that seems to follow him through his life. Fated to find fame, fated to find Paula. I'm wanting to say neither brought him great joy. And I'm sorry, but that's what I'm feeling. He's saying, correct that. He's saying, there were moments of joy, there was joy, but it wasn't, what he's showing me is the end of his life where he's saying it had turned sour. Not through her fault, not through my fault, not through Bob's fault, through a combination of many, many different factors. He's saying relationships go through ups and downs, peaks and troughs, and there is always usually a number of combination of factors which result in he's showing me it going flat. He's just saying it feeling flat. But he's saying I also own the fact of that flatness because it was also within me. I felt flat. I was feeling like the walking dead, the walking wounded. So to expect the relationship to be all bells and whistles and sunshine and flowers when I wasn't feeling that, it wasn't her fault. Is there anything you want to say about Paula? I'm just getting this sense of fated meeting, definite love, obviously, for her. But I'm intrigued as to why she's not around you now, or why I can't sense her now. I'm getting this impression. This is a really weird thing to say. I'm feeling a really strange sensation at my eyes here. What is this? Wow, okay. I'm actually being shown them being pulled apart. For want of a better word, by God. I mean, it's not God sitting on a cloud pulling two individuals apart. It's just the energy of the God presence. It's... Okay, he's showing me two magnets of different poles. And whereas in life they were attracted to each other and came together, for some reason in spirit there is this reversal of pole energy and there is this pulling apart from each other. But it's... the only way I can describe it is it feels as though it isn't good for either of them to be around them to each other in spirit. And it probably is linked into their own healing, although it's a number of years since he passed over, and Paula as well. So, I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's a strange one. Should I just pull a card on Paula Yates? Can I pull a card, Micheal? Because I'm getting a bit confused here. He is quite a closed book in many respects. I mean, he's very happy to be here and talk to us, but he's very private. He's very private, so I'm not going to push it too much. If things don't want to come up, I can't force them. But, you know, let's just see. Am I able just to take a card from this deck, please? Show me how you feel about Paula. Paula, please. Show me how you feel about Paula. Show me how you feel about Paula, please. One card. There's loads of them fell out. In a way, they all fell out of the deck. He didn't know how to play. He didn't know how to play his hand with her. He didn't know how to play the cards that fell out of the deck with her. We've got the King of Pentacles, which is an unusual card because I said, how do you feel about her? I mean, in a way, I suppose he's saying that he still feels as though he was her king. Maybe he is still her king. And then you see on the bottom of the pack, we've got Temperance. So I think it's what I'm picking up. And then we've got Five of Swords. There's this energy between the two of them, which is that you may well have been king or queen of my world when alive, but healing needs to happen now. What happened on Earth was quite traumatic. I'm also hearing a bonfire of the vanities. So they seem to bring out the worst in each other, and definitely an ego energy as well. And this is the card here, the Five of Swords, which is, it's almost like battling to the death. It's like victory at all costs. So I suspect there may well have been a lot of fighting between the two of them as individuals, literally bickering with each other, fighting with each other. But, you know, for whatever reason, he's still showing himself as the King of Pentacles there. Okay. Anything else to say on Paula? He's sort of joking, but there's an energy of him which is like, you're nosy, aren't you? But he's saying it in a nice way. He's actually saying to me he can't remember a lot of what happened. He's actually he can't remember a lot of what happened. And this is due to the way he was in the last few years of his life. It's due to the drugs. It's due to dependency. It's due to his injury. It's actually just a weird thing to say. It's like, it is amnesia. It's almost like wanting to forget. But the thing is, when you're a soul, my understanding is that you have to work through whatever happened to you in life. And so therefore you would be forced to look at it. He says God never forces. He says you look when you want to look. How is he feeling right now? Let's just bring him through and see what his energy feels like today. Because I definitely don't get the energy that he's still wounded or anything like that. But there is just this, just wanting to do this. It's just like he's wanting to keep arm's distance from that whole episode of his life for some reason. He's just showed me a page that's turned. It's like he doesn't want to go back and look at it in too much detail. In its ugliness, he's saying. He's saying a lot of it was very ugly. The last few years were quite ugly. And there was a lot that was said that was ugly. And he's saying, I always tried to be about beauty. Beauty. Beauty was important to him. Elegance. He just keeps saying beauty. You see, there's a very Venus type energy with Micheal. In terms of, I always ask the question, sort of, you know, what, I believe that we're all from many different planets. Okay, so when you say what star system is he from, I can say Venus, which is the same actually as Princess Diana. Okay, Princess Diana, I believe, is also linked into the Venus energy. Michael's also very much linked into Venus, but that's just one aspect of his being. I'm very pulled to this galactic star being crystal, and have been since Michael's energy came around me. But again, I can't quite get the name of the galaxy, but I'm definitely being shown Venus. Yeah, he is mysterious. He is enigmatic, and he's still enigmatic, and there's parts of him. He's actually saying, Amanda, it's more that there's parts of me that I still don't understand. It's not that he's trying to be deliberately elusive. He's saying, as a human being, there were parts of myself I didn't understand. And as a soul, there are still parts of myself I don't understand. And he's saying, I can see people are going to be raising their eyebrows at that, because you're a soul, aren't you supposed to remember everything? But I'm just repeating what he's saying to me. He's saying there are parts of myself I still don't understand. I get the feeling that in terms of earthbound energy, he's very linked to Earth. He still has a great appreciation for Earth. He liked being on Earth. He appreciated the pleasures of Earth. He appreciated the body. I want to come to that in a moment because we need to get the death thing over with, don't we, Michael? So he's saying yes. So let's do that first before we deviate. Okay. So he died 22nd of November. Interesting, I said December. It feels almost as though there was a period of transition for him, as though he hung around for a little bit. And when I say hung around, I just said hung around for a little bit. Okay, I might come back to that in a moment. But I was actually trying to say his soul hung around for a bit for the people that had been left behind by his sudden departure. So I'm feeling between 22nd of November when he actually died and 22nd of December when he fully went to the light, there was this period where he was okay, he was at peace, but he was popping in and visiting people. He was popping in and visiting people in their dreams. He was leaving messages. He was leaving signs. He was around Paula, definitely. Whatever had happened between them in the last few months, there was still love there. Of course there was still love. And there was still, it's interesting, he's saying there was still a duty of care. A duty of care. He felt a duty to her. You see, this is the thing with the energy of the king. The king takes his responsibilities quite seriously. The king had had a daughter with her, and the king wanted to make sure that the daughter and her were going to be okay, even though he wasn't around anymore. Also around his family, around his bandmates, around his fans, around his country. He's very proud of being an Australian, very proud of being an Australian and flying the Aussie flag. Definitely still feeling that very strong. I'm also feeling quite a strong Aboriginal energy with Michael as well. I don't know if he had Aboriginal blood in his family line or not, or whether it's just that he was very much about the land. You see what he's doing again? He doesn't really want to talk about his death. He was very much about the land, respecting the land, respecting Mother Earth, was much more socially aware than a lot of people realised. I have to say, Michael, that in terms of your songs, I know all the big ones, and I love them. And I've been playing Elegantly Wasted over and over the last few days. I'm obsessed with that song. And I've always liked Need You Tonight, Suicide Blonde. They're great, great songs that he's done. But I hadn't appreciated some of the latter songs that he had been writing, which were more about social ills, I suppose, social ills and the state of the world and the corruption in the world and the evil in the world. I mean, one of his songs is The Devil Inside, so it's also about the devil is inside us as well. But one of his last songs, where was it? I wrote it down. Slip Away, I think it's called, something like that. Slip Away, Slide Away. Just see if I've got the lyrics, because they're all about effectively not really wanting to be here anymore. So it's like a personal diary. I haven't got it to hand. Okay. I feel as though his writing, it was like a personal diary is what he's saying. He poured his emotions and his life out into his lyrics. So again, like a lot of these Heart Squad members, you've got to go back and re-listen to their music. There's going to be so much more that you hear in it when you really listen. You really listen to actually what was trying to be said. Okay. Are we going to go back to your death now? Okay. Can I just bring you in now properly for people so they can feel you and see you? Okay. Right. So let's just bring Michael in. Just going to spray the Rainbow Bridge spray. He's coming in a white shirt, tight-fitted T-shirt. He's got, I think they're leather trousers. They're certainly black. They're fitted. They're quite tight. There's a belt. He's got the long, flowing, curly hair. He's got those beautiful brown eyes. There's a lot of white energy around him. He's dressed in white, but actually I'm more taken by the white energy that is behind him and around him. His aura is very, very white. I mean, actually, this picture, of course, there's a white background. Maybe that's why I was subliminally choosing that, because that's actually now how I'm seeing him in spirit as well. pretty angelic, actually. I mean, this is the thing. He was a naughty, naughty boy. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but you were. He's saying, yeah, I know I was. He was a naughty boy in all sorts of ways. But there is this sort of angelic energy with him. I mean, he was Capricorn, wasn't he? But it almost feels quite Gemini-like. It's like these two different sides to his character. Very much like he's got these he's distinct chapters in his life: pre-Paula, post-Paula, pre-fame, post-fame. There's this thing about angel and devil with him as well. He's very beguiling. You know, I mean, look at those eyes. There's not many people that be able to say no to those eyes. I don't think I'd have been able to say no, I have to be honest. I mean, look at it. It's just like, whoa. He's like he says, you're making me blush now, Amanda. That's funny, because I knew he was going to make me blush. He's saying, you're making me blush. He's just having a laugh. He's very, very sweet. He's very, very gentle. But that's what I mean. There's a very angelic energy around him. His cheeks, he's got like little cherub. He's like cherub cheeks. You know, it's very cherubic. Very cherubic energy. Is there such a word as cherubic? I don't know, but you know, yes, definitely. Right. You see, again, I don't want to talk about his death now because I'm feeling really good. Let's just go with where we are. Okay, Michael, what's going on here? What do you want to say? He's saying, oh God, people take life so seriously. Everyone wants to talk about my death the whole time. It's just like, he's like, oh, I know. But he's saying to me, I realise it's part of your job, in the same way that when I used to have to go on tour and I used to have to do various things that were part of the job, and some of them I didn't particularly enjoy doing or didn't get as much satisfaction from doing, but you sort of have to do it. So it's almost like he's putting the spotlight back on me in terms of, this is your job, so I know you've got to ask the question, so it's fine, go and do it. You see, he's very good at that. As a man, part of his gift was that he put women in the spotlight. He made you the centre of attention. He's very good. It's interesting because, again, he was the centre of attention. You know, if he was in a room, everybody'd be looking at Michael because he was so beautiful. But his gift was actually that he made you feel as though you were the most beautiful person in the room. You were the most fascinating person in the room. Those eyes, once they locked onto you, you know, it's just like you're a goner, basically. So that's what I'm feeling here. And he is laughing. He's laughing whilst he's also realising we need to talk about some serious stuff. So Michael, come on, let's just do this now, please. Let's just do this. Let's get this death thing over with, shall we? Right, I'm just going to say, for the people that don't realise, Michael, what the different theories are out there about your death. And, you know, they're all serious, and none of them are a laughing matter. So in terms of the... what's it called? Inquest. The inquest into death, I believe, said it was suicide. I better just check this, because if I've got it wrong, everyone's going to be down on me like a ton of bricks. Yeah, suicide by hanging is what was the official verdict, was that he hung himself. I have to say that I have read on another Heart Squad member who hung themselves, and I think it could have been Robin Williams. I can't remember, I can't remember who it was. But the point is, whoever it was that I channeled who had basically hung themselves, when I came to do their video, I couldn't put anything around my neck. It was like it was one of my signs, which was like, you know, I can't have anything around here because today it was like I wanted to wear something chunky around my neck, but it felt completely fine to do this. I'm not convinced by this hanging argument. But I'm going to ask him in a moment. But anyway, it's just an observation energetically. I'm not feeling anything here around my neck area as I'm tuning into his body. So that is sort of like, that's weird because they say he, you know, killed himself by hanging. But I'm feeling as though his energy around his neck and his throat, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any scarring. I'm not seeing any... I'm not seeing any trauma there. So it's like there's a question mark there. The other suggestion is that he died by autoerotic asphyxiation, sexual act. That one I'm definitely not feeling. I'm definitely not feeling that was what it was. Because I'm going to pull some cards in a minute. I felt into the energy around the couple of hours before his death and even, a few minutes before his death. And there's just this energy of deep sadness, deep confusion, more than anything, confusion. Certainly drugged. Whatever happened, there was a huge amount of drugs there going on, totally confused. Definitely not in the mood to get it on, whether with yourself or with anybody else. That's just not on the radar. So I don't feel that. The other one is murder. Was it murder? Has to be said as well, those of you that don't know, his money, where's his money gone? His money just, supposedly he died with virtually no money. He would have made a fortune in his life, so what's that all about? So I don't know. I'm going to pull some cards firstly, because he's still doing this. He's in front of me, he's doing this. It's like a secret. It's a secret. And I can't make out whether he's protecting somebody still here on Earth, or whether it's still not the time for it to be revealed. But got that word mystify again. It's mystifying. Look, I'll just pull some cards. Let's see if we get anywhere. Do I have your permission to pull a few cards? Yeah, he says that's a safer way to do it. Okay, let's do this then. Can you show me what happened, please, Micheal? Your death. Can you show me what happened, please? Can you show me what happened, please? Can you show me what happened, please? You see, I'm finding it hard to even shuffle the blinking cards. What is this? A can of worms is what he's saying. There's like a train going past. I mean, I don't live near a station. I can hear like a train going. There's a train noise. Somebody coming to collect their dues. Money. Your death. Please show me what happened. Please show me what you're able to show me. 6 of Wands. Bottom of the deck, 7 of Cups. I did these cards last night, okay? And to be honest, the same cards came out last night. But I knew I had to pull them live on camera, otherwise people say, I'm fixing it or whatever. So same cards came out last night. 6 of Wands and the 7 of Cups. And the World, that came out last night as well. Let's pull 2 more, please. Your death. Show me what happened, please. Your death. The 5 of Cups. A lot of emotion. Show me what happened, please. Strength and the Star. I'm not going to be able to give you, I don't think I'm going to be able to give you a clear-cut answer here, but I'm just going to tell you what the energy is that I'm feeling. That train that just went by, it's like signalling I'm arrived or I'm here. This victory card, 6 of Wands, there's a red flag. So there are some red flags here, which people are rightfully picking up on, that something doesn't add up about this death, okay? But the other thing that I'm being shown with that red flag is in motor racing, when they flag you down in motor racing to stop. I assume red is stop, but that's the message I'm getting. It's almost like the race is over, but again, it's this, he was born on the 22nd, he died on the 22nd. It's as though he was victorious in that he had completed what he came to complete. The world is the completion of everything. The cycle was over. It was finished. Stop. There's also a very illusionary type energy here. I think this is probably the drugs. I don't think he knew what he was doing. I've got a feeling he doesn't even now know the full facts. Because look at this. These 3 cards, 7 of Cups. It's like which cup is real? Which one holds poison? Which one holds love? Which one is illusionary? Which one is real? I've no idea. Even this Star card, the Star is a brilliant card usually. You know, it's the card of the ultimate dream. Where do you want to go? What are you hoping for? It's the Wish card, the Dream card. But it's like in this particular deck, it's like it's floating around in the air. It's very illusionary, especially coupled with that 7 of Cups. Illusionary, veil-like energy. And then the 5 of Cups. Just feeling left out, feeling, only being able to focus on those 3 things that have gone wrong, not being able to appreciate that there's 2 still standing. There's energies in your life that are still brilliant, that are still worth living for. And then the Strength card, I'm going to clarify that. Strength. Why have we got the Strength card, please? Why have we got the Strength card? I mean, if anything, what this is feeling like is accidental, but we've got the 8 of Swords has just flown out next to Strength. He didn't feel strong. He didn't feel in control. 8 of Swords is when you are bound, when you are trapped. But again, it's an illusion. You're not actually trapped. You think you're trapped, but there is always a way out. You just can't see it. 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 What's sad about it is, again, this Star card, it's as though there was an opportunity for healing. But the opportunity was the other side of the veil. I just feel sadness. I feel real sadness with this death scene. It's there's nothing clear cut about it. Those people that are sort of saying it was definitely down to this person or this, it doesn't feel clear cut at all to me. I think is it even ever going to be solved? I don't know. Let me just take a couple of cards from this deck as well, this little deck. Anything you want to tell me about your death, please, Michael? Anything you want to tell me about your death? Anything you want to tell me about the moment of your death? The moment of your death. The moment of your death. Moment of your death. Look at that, the universe. The universe was calling. The universe was calling. The universe was calling. I'm actually not going to call this in terms of what I think it is. I'm going to leave it open to your interpretation. The universe was calling. I think there were voices in his head, but I think it was drug induced, or aspects of, I think he had these mood swings. One moment he was fine, the next he wasn't. One moment he was happy, the next he wasn't. It was due to this brain injury. I think there was something that happened. Did it happen quite quickly? I feel it happened quite quickly, where his mood just suddenly shifted and he couldn't get himself out of it. Whether it was accidental or whether it was intended, I'm not entirely sure. Was there anybody else involved in your death? Was there anybody else involved in your death? Was there anybody else involved in your death? The Ace of Wands. There's only one wand. And look at that, bottom of the deck, Ace of Swords, there's only one sword. My interpretation of that is there's just one. There's just one. Interestingly, in these cards, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 10 cards out here. With the exception of the Strength card, which shows a woman. And okay, we've got this woman on that world card, but it's not a card that is about a person really. That's just, you know, she's a representation of, it's not like a king or a queen card, that's what I'm trying to say, you know, or a prince or a knight. There's no people cards, you know. Where's the kings, the queens? They're not here. It's almost like there's an absence of people. There's an absence of people here. He was obviously there alone. Where's everybody else gone? He felt alone. It was illusion. He wasn't alone. This is what's really sad about it. Can you give the people that are watching anything else, Michael? Your death. I still feel there's something he's not saying, but I think he's protecting. Got the card of goals. So, feeling as though the goal was out of reach. Whether that be a new start for the band, new material that needed to be written, new start in love, something linked into Paula, card of individuality there, which is not really telling me much, to be honest, other than that he was an individual. We know that. Feel as though also he may actually now, so he's saying something. He wanted to go solo, is what he's saying, but he felt obligated to other people's goals, other people's plans for him. He was a unique individual character. That's why we're still talking about him all these years later. But yeah, he felt as though that individuality was melting like the snowflake. He couldn't be that. All I'm feeling here is just an abundance of illusionary energy, confused energy, very, very emotional energy with all these cups. Not having the strength to fight it. Can you tell me about your moment of transition? Are you able to do that? I have no idea why, and this makes absolutely no sense because he was found kneeling behind the door, but I'm seeing him lying in bed. It's just like this. The only way I can describe it, it's like this snowstorm. I can't see past the snowstorm in the room. It's like it's deliberately being veiled. It's deliberately veiled. I'm not being able to see it. I don't know whether he's protecting me, whether he's protecting somebody else, whether he's protecting his own reputation. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Your moment of transition. He said to me, Eight of Wands on the bottom of the pack, so it feels as though it was the moment where actually the last breath exited. It came quickly for some reason. He's saying to me, I've been told it was peaceful. It's like he doesn't remember. It's like he doesn't remember. It's almost like in spirit, you know, where he is now, whether you want to call that heaven or whatever, it's as though other people have told me it was peaceful. I'm talking about transition, not necessarily actual death, but you know, the transition was peaceful, but it's like he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember. Mystify. Goodness knows. Okay, we're going to move on, Michael. We're going to move on. Right. Let's just see what other things I've written down here. Oh, one thing I did here very clearly. over the last 24 hours. I kept hearing him say Chris, 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 Chris. And I was like, who on earth is Chris? Because again, he wasn't telling me who Chris was. It was just Chris. No surname, just Chris. Now, I assume Chris must have been a member of INXS. I don't know. So I looked it up last night because it was really bugging me. Like, who is this Chris? And I think it's Chris Murphy. Now, Chris Murphy was, I understand, their manager. And he died very, very recently. He died in January of this year. So I'm feeling he's just... What do you want to say about Chris? I'm feeling Chris is behind him. Chris is behind him for some reason. I don't know whether Micheal used to be a bit of a prankster or a trickster type energy, because when I was sitting here this morning just saying, okay, right, Micheal, we're going to do this. Are you here? You know, I felt like a tap on my shoulder. And I was like, you know, are you here? And he's like, I'm behind you. I was like, oh, what are you doing behind me? So there's this thing with him, which is very, what you see is not necessarily what you get. He likes to be an enigma. I can't put it any more clearly than that. So anyway, I'm being shown Chris behind Micheal now for whatever reason. He says he always tried to keep up with me in life. So there's this thing about Chris following him. I don't know. Anyway, Chris is with him. The one thing I do want to say about Michael's love life is that even though we've got this, you know, Paula definitely not with him, the one person that I do see him very, still very focused on, and she's still alive, she's still here on Earth, is Helena Christensen, who he did date for a number of years. Now, he kept talking about Helena, and I'm feeling there was a really deep love there, a really deep love. And in terms of all of the women of his life, I know he dated Kylie Minogue and everything, but no, Helena seems to be the one. There seems to be more of a connection there in terms of soul tribe. And it's quite interesting because the devil inside, Micheal had this energy of the devil inside. How far can I push it? How far can I go? Not a lot of boundaries. You know, it's the typical sex, drugs and rock and roll type thing. Pushing it too far, even by his own in his own words. You know, it's like excess. Helena Christensen, not saying she's an angel, but it's interesting. She has the word Christ in her name. She's also born on the 25th of December. So again, the double Christ energy. I feel as though they were magnetized towards each other. I'm not saying Micheal was the devil and she was the energy of Christ. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's this dance between the angelic and the slightly more devilish energy. And they seemed to see something in each other that they needed. They were like two pieces of a jigsaw. So definitely it's like he still keeps a lookout for her, Helena. Okay, let's go to some questions now. I'm going to go with this one. I'm not going to say this lady's name for reasons that will probably become apparent in a moment, but you did leave this on my YouTube channel. And you say this. So we're going to go into the realm of sexuality now. You say, I'm a huge prude, so I feel uncomfortable with this one, which is good. I could have been a nun, but I love dancing too much. You see, straight away Micheal's saying, build on the dancing. Build on that. Build on whatever you've got, in all seriousness, okay? So in terms of sexuality, build on what you've got. Okay, do you want to talk a little bit then about... I mean, you were often referred to a bit like a sex god, to be perfectly honest. And I had the name for this video a few days ago. Might have changed by the time I upload it, but I wanted to call it Feminine Fire Starter because I do think that's a lot of what you were and still are. You have this effect on women in terms of really getting their fire going, that fire energy, and bringing out the... it's like the goddess type energy, you know, if you being able to again, it's this thing about looking at people and really being able to focus on them, giving them all of your attention, making you feel as though you're the most beautiful woman in the world. You know, that what you say is absolutely captivating, that your body is absolutely beautiful, that I love your curves, I love your hair, I love your eyes, I love the way you talk to me a little bit more. You know, it's very much, you would have had his full attention. And he's saying that many men don't seem to understand that, or, you know, partners of women generally don't understand this. And it's true, of course, of either sex, but it's this thing about giving somebody your whole attention, really looking at them, really being present with them is the greatest aphrodisiac going, okay? He's saying that so many people approach relationships and intimacy and sexuality from a very detached place. It's almost as though I'm there, but I'm not there. And he's also talking about even the incidence of orgasm, for example. So it's this thing about the illusion of, well, yes, of course, you know, I came, but really I didn't. But I'm going to say I did to not hurt your feelings, or you know, it's like it's all of this pretense type energy, not being real, not being authentic, not being able to deal with the truth. He's saying you have to be raw, you have to be real, you have to be true, you have to be present. So another question, from his perspective, why is being in touch with one's sexuality so important and empowering? Why is being in touch with why is being in touch with your sexuality so important and empowering? It's what makes you feel alive, he's saying. It's what makes you feel alive. It's life affirming. It creates moments of total joy and connection to each other, to yourself, to the greater universe. He says, no wonder why it is, can't quite get the words, he's making me feel as though no wonder why society tries to malign it. What he means by that is almost like it becomes a very jokey type thing, rather than actually something where you look somebody in the eyes and say, I want you, I love you, you rock my world, let's get it on, basically. He's showing me, this is a British reference, it might not be something that everybody understands, but in the UK, I grew up with it in the 1960s, probably 1950s, they were more common. You would go to a seaside resort and you would get a postcard to send to people to say, hi, I'm having a lovely time in Brighton, And there was this fashion for having these saucy postcards, which were, the big boobed woman and the man with the willy sticking out, and it was all silly, it was all slapstick, it was all slapstick type thing. But it was almost like laughing at sexuality. It was like laughing at ourselves. He's saying we laugh. He's saying it's almost like we try and laugh to. Let me get the words right, Michael. This is important. What he's trying to say is important. He's saying it's almost like we've made it into a very laughable, silly thing at one end of the axis. But then on the other end of the axis, we've got extreme violence linked into sexuality, which nobody wants. I'm talking about non-consensual violence, sexual violence. And he's saying the greatest gift that you can give to yourself and to another is to actually take your sexuality seriously, which means not denying your needs, not dismissing yourself as a sexual being. In like the slapstick postcards, there is this thing which is sort of, it's almost like mocking. It's like mocking. It's fine to have a laugh, but when it's just about it's always about having a laugh. It's like he wants to put sexuality into the spotlight and to have an honest discussion about its importance, its role, its part that it is going to play in the ascension of your planet, he's saying, talking your language. Yeah, right, right, absolutely. The part that it's going to play in the ascension of your planet, it's not to be laughed at, it's not to be mocked, it's to be embraced, it's not to be run away from, it's not to be scared of. And people are scared of it, they're scared of their power as a sexual being. So this is the thing with the intensity of his eyes, in all seriousness. It's like, that's what you see when you look in his eyes. It's just this complete openness in terms of, yeah, I'm a sexual being. So, you know, but for some people that's very, very triggering. You know, it's almost like we're back to the Victorian age, you know, another UK reference, but it's the Victorian age. It's like, you know, ooh, you know, that's done behind closed doors with the lights off, you know, and like, you know, whatever, you know, clothes still on. It's that sort of energy. It's like, come on, you know, let's be a bit more liberated than that. So he's about liberation, sexual freedom, experimentation, adventure. He's saying, yeah, I push the boundaries. He's saying some of what's been said about me wasn't always true. He wants to correct that. So he's saying absolutely, very little boundaries, but also wanted to make the very serious point, always consensual and always respectful is what he's saying. Would never have done something to somebody or participated in something which wasn't consensual or mutually agreeable. Okay. And he said to even realise what that is, you have to be able to have a discussion with your partner. And again, he's saying this is part of the problem in society, which is that, you know, you can be with somebody, you can be married for years, or you can have just met them, but there's very little discussion that actually happens face to face, person to person, between the sheets in terms of this is what I would like, or this is what I need. What would you like? What do you need? It's almost like there's an embarrassment to that. We're back to the sort of like, it's like the kiddie stuff. It's like, you know, ooh, look at that, you know, look at that person over there. And it's fueled by this media, which is showing us everything. He's saying it's almost like the media is showing everything in terms of sexuality, but actually saying nothing. Okay. We're back to, he's wanting to take me, it's almost like back to like schoolboy stuff. It's like titillation, you know? I don't think there's anything about this guy that, you know, in all seriousness, yeah, very attractive man, all the rest of it, but it wasn't titillating. Even that word, it's not titillating, is what he's saying. It's, you know, own the fact, like he was able to, that you're a sexual being. And if you're running away from that, well, what is that all about? You know, what is that all about? Heal that. Part of being a human being and having the bits that you've got is that they're there for a reason, not just procreation. So he also feels like he came in like with this sledgehammer in terms of that old paradigm, which is also linked into church and religion, which is, you know, you do that to have children, you know, you do that to have children. And then after that, you know, we can mock it. There's a lot of people that still feel that, okay? You know, you do that. I know somebody in my life like that. It's a friend of a friend. It's not a close person, but I know, you know, it's like when she had her 2 children, I'm being serious here, I'm not mocking her, but it's like this has to come up for healing. She said to me, she said, well, that's a relief. I never have to do that again. Huh? Right? You're in a marriage. It's like, what's going to happen to that relationship? You know, that other person has needs. But for her, she didn't have any needs. So it's like, was there ever a discussion? I don't know. I'm not even in touch with her anymore. But this is the thing. It's getting away from that somebody put it in my comments on this channel, getting away from that very puritanical energy, you know, which is just, he's saying methodical sex. He's showing me like books. I can't remember what it's called. He showed me the cover of it. Joy of Sex, I think it's called. It was a book from the 1950s, 60s, I don't know, you know, and it's almost like that's what a generation grew up with, which is you look at the pictures and it's like, well, that's how you sort of do it. And, you know, that's how you're meant to feel. And if you put that bit there and that bit there, you might get it on. And it's like he's saying, throw away the bloody books, you know, throw away the books. Just be present with each other. You are the book and your partner is the book, okay? Turn the pages of the book together. Explore what it is that you like or don't like, but talk about it, have a discussion about it. Put it as one of the pillars of your relationship. Okay. What about people, Michael, that don't have anybody in their life or don't have a sexual life going on? Okay. He's saying you must never lose sight of the fact that you are a spirit, that you are a spiritual being. But it's interesting, he says spiritual as well. It's almost, but I'm wanting to say sexual being, but I said spiritual. It's interesting with him because it's almost as though the way that he lived his life, particularly linked into this sort of sex god tag that he's got, and let's be very clear, he's still quite into that, you know. I mean, he's rocked up in a pair of leather trousers, so you know there's still that there. But he's very aware, he's very, very in tune with the energies on planet Earth, always was. And so he knows that this era that we're moving into is the era of sacred sexuality and the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming together. But it's almost as though he feels as though he can't talk about it because he feels as though he's being judged by some of the ways he might have behaved when he was earthbound, but also some of the things that people have said about him. He's saying there was a lot of hot air and gossip linked into who he was and what he did, and that half of it isn't true. Okay, he says, I put my hands up to what I did do, but he gives me the impression, I've not watched loads of interviews with Michael Hutchence, but I get the impression that he would not have been somebody that would have been ever disrespecting a partner or talking about a partner in a sexual way in terms of we did this or we didn't do that, or, you know, oh, they're really good in bed, or then, you know, he's very, he has his own code of honour, and actually within him is a very, is the energy of a man who, when he was here, actually just really wanted to be with one person, you know. He attracted women in particular like, you know, bees to a honeypot, but ultimately there's a sense of just really wanting a deep, deep love with one person. And it seems to link back to that whole energy of Venus, planet of love, just searching for deep, deep love, soul love. And I think personally, the closest he got to it in this lifetime was Helena Christensen. That's what I'm feeling. But they feel as though they were two ships that passed at the wrong time in each other's lives. It didn't quite tally up. And he's actually saying in retrospect now, he realises why it didn't really work, because he, you know, obviously he didn't have a long life. So he wouldn't want her to have been shackled to somebody that ultimately wasn't going to be here, because he died at 37. So, you know, it's almost as though they were kept apart for a reason in terms of longevity. Okay. Do you want to say anything else before we move on to another question about, I've just written down a thing here saying about bringing the woman out of the female. So if we look at somebody like Kylie Minogue, Michael, okay, she's a good example. So in terms of public perception, Kylie's the girl next door, she's in Neighbours, everybody knows Kylie. You and her get it together and she does transform in front of the public's eye into somebody who's much more in touch with her sexuality, and you know, you're sort of credited for doing that. And I sort of feel there's a bit of an energy of that with you, that you did that to a few women through your life. So do you want to say anything here about bringing the woman out of the female? Sure, he says. Okay, right, let's see what he has to say. Bringing the woman out of the female. Okay, he's so sweet, because he's not ticking me off when he's saying these things. He's like a master teacher here. I mean, I've got a lot to learn, I have to say, because he's saying, he was noticing me laughing, and he was saying the problem is women laugh at themselves and they belittle themselves, and they do that because they're not owning their own power. It's true. It's so true, isn't it? I mean, even taking it away from the sexual realm, You know, you come in and I don't know if this is just a UK thing, I don't think it is, but you know, you wear a new dress or something and you're feeling quite good in your new dress, and somebody comes up to you and says, I love your dress. And you'll say, oh yeah, this old rag, yeah, I've had it for a few years actually, yeah, you know. You don't accept the compliment, you throw it off. Why do we do that as women? So again, it's this, he's wanting us to look at that. You know, he noticed it in me. It was like, why were you laughing that off? You know, in terms of bringing the woman out of the female. Why is that funny? Okay, so girls, we need to actually listen to what he's just said there, because it's not about the man bringing it out of you. I mean, yes, it can help, or the female. I mean, let's not get into the whole gender thing. Micheal doesn't care who you're with, what sexuality you are. You know, I'm just using male and female here because otherwise it's going to get very confusing in this video. Okay, so talking about bringing, don't expect your partner, let's just say that, to have to be the one to bring that out of you. You've got to bring it out of yourself. In the same way they've got to bring their sexuality out of themselves. I mean, sure, you can come together and you can help each other, but he's saying it was, so for example with Kylie, he doesn't want to talk about Kylie too much because it's personal and I totally respect that, but he is just saying with regard to her, for example, it was already within her. You know, he's showing me this beautiful flower that was ripe for the picking, okay? And then by picking it, it's interesting, by picking the flower, a bit like when you prune a tree. It's like when you prune a tree, it makes it come back much bigger than before. So you just need somebody to first pick it, smell it, notice it, you know? So in terms of the male here, let's just talk about the male and the woman. For the man to notice, for the man to appreciate, for the man to be present, for the man to, he just keeps saying notice, you know, to notice, to honour. He's actually showing me, it's almost like a lot of men should be at the feet of a lot of women. And he means that in terms of the divine feminine, you know, the beauty of the divine feminine, and how often men just, for whatever reason, aren't able to be able to open up and say, I see you, I see who you are, I really see who you are, to be seen. That was his gift, you know. It wasn't, he's saying it wasn't about technique or, you know, he said I had the most corny chat up lines going. He's saying it was to do with the fact I was able to see them. I saw who they were then in that moment, and I saw what was within them. But I was only able to do that because they were, I mean, to put it crudely, it's almost like ripe for the picking, okay? It's like they had done the inner work. They knew, it was like they were on the cusp. They were on the cusp of discovering this within themselves. So he's saying the inner work needs to be done by both sexes. How do people do that, though, if they're feeling flat and unsexy and unattractive and unwanted? I mean, where do people start, Micheal? Where do people start? Where do people start? He's saying from the boots up. It's what he's saying. He's saying from the boots up. So he's saying everybody's a work in progress. Think about a characteristic or a physical attribute that you have that you like. Okay, you might not like 95% of yourself. Okay, let's talk looks for a moment. You might not like 95% of yourself. You might see this that's wrong with you, that that's wrong with you. I should be like that or this. He said, but there will be one thing that you actually really love about yourself. It could be anything. It could be your skin. It could be your hair. It could be your eyes. It could be the little mole underneath, you know, whatever. I don't know. I don't know why I said that. Somebody needed to hear that. I'm hearing, you know. Oh, he's saying that's important actually. The little mole underneath wherever that you might be judging and thinking, ooh, that's ugly, to somebody else could be something that's absolutely wondrous, you know? It's like actually underneath this little bit of hair here, there's actually a beauty mark. And for somebody else, that could be their world to discover that, you know? Whereas you've spent your whole life trying to do this, you know, like nobody to see it, okay? So it's like he's saying beauty is in the eye of the beholder anyway, and it's to do with it not and let me get this the right way around. I'm getting my words mixed up now. He's talking about beauty is not just on the surface, you know, it's within. Of course, it's within as well. So think about, it doesn't have to be something exterior. It can be. If you've got great boobs, celebrate the fact you've got great boobs. If you've got great legs, celebrate the fact you've got great legs. If you've got nice hair, celebrate the fact you've got nice hair. If you're a bloke and you're bald, celebrate the fact you've got a nice shaped, smooth head. I don't know. There's lots of women that like bald men. You know, that's a good example, actually, Michael's saying. You know, a number of men who like, oh my God, no women aren't going to like me because I'm bald or I'm grey or I'm this. You know, there's loads of women that love that, you know. That would be like top of their list. I want to be with somebody who's bald. So it's all relative is what Micheal is saying. But you've got to love something about yourself. And he's almost like giving you some homework, which is he wants you to think about something you love about yourself. You know, and he's saying don't be shy about it. Don't be, you know, and it's okay to say this because, you know, I'm Brit and I'm not at all offended, Micheal. He's saying, you know, don't be British about it. You know, don't be sort of like, oh no, I can't own the fact that I've got a nice pair of whatever, you know, eyes, I was thinking. All right, so don't make fun of it, own it. But equally own the qualities that are within you as well, because they are the most attractive things. He says, I was around so many narcissistic people in my career. And I saw so many people who on the surface looked very beautiful. A lot of it manipulated, he's saying, but who, you know, scratched the surface and were very ugly inside. So he says it has to be both, of course. He was beautiful inside as well, real gentleness. Okay, I'm aware of the time. We're at 1:11. If I make it 1:11 and 11. I looked at that, Micheal, 1:11 and 11. It's the only time I've referenced the time, and it was then. I'm tempted to leave it there, but I feel like I've only just got going with you. Maybe we'll just do one other quick thing. What aspect are we going to talk about here? There's much more to say on everything. Union has come up. Okay, the card of union. Okay, I thought I was going to talk about head injury, drugs, mood swings and brain injury, but no, he wants to talk about love. He wants to talk about love. Okay, we'll talk about... I'm going to have to come back and do another video with him. This is just going to be a first starter. Okay, union. What do you want to say about union? Oh, actually, interestingly, I mean, it probably isn't the intention of this card at all, but this is a card obviously linked into love and male and female, but that almost looks like a brain. It looks like a brain. You know, the right and left hemisphere of the brain. Maybe there is something you want to say about brain injury. What do you want to say, Micheal, this last bit? Did you hear that train again? Did you hear that train again? I never hear the train like that. That's the third time that's happened. What is going on here? Is that just one of your signs that you're around? Maybe it is, I don't know. The train is arriving. Oh, he's saying the train is arriving for people. Do you know, he's like a matchmaker type energy. I think if you're having trouble with your love life, you know, maybe you've got your eye on somebody or you're in separation from somebody or, I don't know, you're on your own and you don't even know, you haven't got your eye on anybody, but you'd like to be with somebody. It's almost just though that train coming in is like, toot toot, they're on their way. He's like a, I can't get away from this whole sex god thing. It's like, you know when he was saying throw away that book, The Joy of Sex? He says, because, you know, who needs dusty old books? And yeah, you need to discover each other, but there's something about him coming in as like a love guru. It really does feel like it's like a love guru. But it's very much about taking yourself seriously. Wants you to take yourself seriously as a beautiful divine partner for somebody else. Because if you don't take yourself seriously and see that within yourself, why are you thinking that they're going to? Okay? And so, yes, he's saying we all have insecurities. We all think maybe we're not good enough, or we're too this, or we're too that, or we've got too much baggage, or there's too much mess, you know, it's not smooth. He's saying love is never smooth. There's never a smooth way with it. But he's saying silk sheets can smooth over a lot of the creases. He's just making light of it. But no, it's what he's about is he's about helping us to face our own sexuality. There's quite a Prince vibe with him as well. I mean, of the three that I channel with the Heart Squad, I would put Michael Hutchence, Prince, and Freddie Mercury. I mean, if there's anybody out there that's struggling with seeing themselves as a sexual being, or getting back into the dating game, or if you're in a relationship and it's all gone a bit flat, but you want to get the spark back, and you have to want to get the spark back. If you don't, you know, almost need to ask yourself, well, I won't even go there, but he seems to come in as those three. I mean, that's going to blast it all out of you, you know? Micheal. Yeah, he's like the magician. He's like I'm getting this feeling with him. It's just like, come and lie down with me. But actually, this isn't sexual. He's the enigma. This is like, come and lie down with me and tell me your insecurities. Tell me your problems. Tell me why you can't, I don't know, whatever it is, linked into sexuality. And he's saying there's so many barriers up around so many people. And it's because they're hurt and they're scared and they're protecting themselves. And they don't want to look at this part of themselves. But he's saying you're missing out on so much because there's this great big well of joy and feeling. You know, part of the sadness of his last couple of years is that a man who was so empathetic, I can't say my words. I don't know whether he had a problem with his speech. It's like my words keep getting twisted and confused and a bit slurred. It's his energy. But anyway, he had empathy is what I'm trying to say. In spades, very sensitive, all about touch. You know, the thing about silk, I wasn't being, he and I are not being facetious. There's a thing about tactility and touch. And he showed me bubbles now, you know, bubbles in a bath. Softness, gentleness, soft grass, lying on soft grass. I wonder whether he spent a lot of his time lying down, you know, in terms of just chilling. Just he has a vibe about him. It's just very chilled. It's like, come and lie with me. You know, tell me your problems. You know, let me look into your eyes. It's almost like, let me look into your eyes and I'll be able to read you anyway. I'll be able to see what's going on. Let's heal this. You know? But yeah, you know, the latter couple of years of his life, you know, with the loss of sense of smell and taste and not being able to experience the world in the same way, that must have been difficult, Micheal. Yeah, really difficult, he says. And he's reminding me, last night, I knew I was going to do this session with him. I went to bed and we'd had somebody in and they were just painting some doors in the house and they'd painted my bedroom door white. And, oh, it stank, you know, when it really strong smell of paint. I actually thought I was going to wake up with a real headache this morning, but I'm fine. But I was going to bed trying to ignore this smell of paint in the room. And I was thinking of Micheal, who was there. And it was like, he was almost like, no, it's quite nice to be able to smell it again, you know, because not having been able to smell is a bad, not a bad thing. It's just something that he missed because he had been able to and then he couldn't. But yeah, this thing about the senses and sexuality, you know, it's to do with taste, it's to do with touch, it's to do with smell, it's the scent of somebody, excuse me, it's the scent of somebody, it's the feel of somebody. He's also saying it's to do with the sound of their voice. You can fall in love with somebody's voice. Yeah. We're going to come back to him, guys. I think we'll leave it there for now, because otherwise the video does get quite long. And let me know. Hopefully you enjoyed that. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there for now. Lovely being in your presence, Micheal. Thank you so much. And he said to me, get the chaise lounge, because I want a chair over there, chaise lounge, in my window. And I have this, I just want one. I want one. And he's saying, yeah, you'll look good lying on that. He's talking about just lying on it in terms of reading or meditating or doing a video. It's definitely something about being horizontal. But he says you'll get a different perspective of the world being horizontal. Yeah, I suppose you do. He's actually showing me himself lying on grass, looking up at the stars. You know, lie horizontal. You see something different. You see the universe. Lovely, lovely, lovely energy. Okay, thank you so much. It's like he's not going anywhere. You're hanging around for a bit, aren't you? He says, yes. He says, now we've been introduced. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, guys, back next time with something else, another video on another subject. I hope you've enjoyed that today. Much love. Go and play some INXS now. I don't know, whatever vibe you're feeling. Much love. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.